Well, hi, this Friday I'm coming in from Myrtle Beach. My family gets together here every year, usually around late June, early July. And what I'm going to talk about today, a number of things. The markets, as I've been saying for weeks now, are in a very crucial place. We're back retesting the highs, and the markets are either in the near term going to break down about 25% or up in the next several months 25%. My targets have been NASDAQ 10,000 and a final blow-off dark window rally before the great crash that I see starting by January to March next year is the most likely time frame. Bitcoin has been soaring right straight up towards my 32,000 target by late this year, early next year. Bond yields have continued to go down. This is unusual in the late stages of a rally. Usually rates are going up and central banks are raising rates, but global trends are slowing. And even after the tax cuts, as we predicted, trends look like they're slowing again in the U.S. because we're stimulating against a weakening demographic and debt-laden economy here and around the world. That's the fundamentals. Now, one thing I'm going to start with that is a wild card here, obviously the China trade deal is. And Rodney and I have been saying from the beginning, China has a big global plan. They are not going to give in too much to our demands when they plan to crush us longer term. So this is going to be difficult. And even if we do get a trade deal, which is likely we're going to get something in the coming months, it's not going to last, especially in a slowing world where everybody gets protected. But the other wild card I've been harping on is Iran. Now, the reason for this, we have our geopolitical cycle. It's about a 34, 35-year cycle, 17 to 18 years positive, and then 17 to 18 years adverse. And we've been in the adverse cycle since 9/11. We started out with 9/11, starting hold terrorist activities around the world that have only grown, and civil wars in the Middle East that have only grown, and now public shootings and white supremacist terrorist attacks. This cycle is coming to an end, literally late this year, early next year, roughly. And it'll slowly start to turn up. So what I see is a culmination. We should see the worst of these terrorist and civil war sort of trends in the Middle East pretty soon. And Iran is the perfect culmination. Because the U.S. hates Iran, and they've hated us ever since we helped the Shah get in. The Sunni world in the Middle East hates Iran. They're the Shia holdouts, along with part of Iraq and Syria. And everybody thinks they're going to get a nuclear bomb and attack Israel or other Sunni nations. I think this is overstated. It's the leadership in Iran that's crazy and far right in that aspect, reactive. Their people are the most educated in the Middle East and actually more pro-West underneath. So some point we've got to come to peace with Iran, but it is not happening right now. And you see, just like in the China thing, where it comes together then falls apart. Right now, Trump just put on more sanctions, okay? And he's saying, if we had to, we could annihilate you. He doesn't want to do that, he says, but that's strong words. Well, what does Khomeini respond? The Iran leadership, these sanctions are so onerous for you to put another round. This has closed any possibility of ever negotiating ever again. Again, strong words. So something's brewing here. I've been warning about this because the markets have been ignoring the Iran issue. Oh, it's just blah, 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 and we'll just somehow come to... this may come to a serious confrontation. Something serious may have to happen with this strong a polarization. It would be perfect for this to happen somewhere around late this year, early next year, and be one of the triggers for this bubble top and the market starting to get serious about the world's not as great as they think it is on crack. And with these endless, stock buybacks and money printing, an economy that keeps limping along and growing again with one stimulus after another, that's not going to last forever. The other thing, Nouriel Roubini, he was one of the guys warning about the subprime crisis in 2006-07. He has been conservative, but now he's saying, look, by early next year, we're going to see debt defaults and debt problems, especially in the emerging world. Places like Turkey, Venezuela, Argentina, and China is the worst. And I just saw recent articles. China's medium-sized banks are the ones that are growing the fastest, the most leverage. They're the ones funding local projects, overdevelopment projects for communist leaders and their crony capitalist partners. They're the ones that could default and start to default, even when the big Chinese banks don't. And the government doesn't have that high a debt at the federal level. They push it down where it's hidden. So again, everything's pointing towards something happening early next year. And that's going to be a challenge for Trump getting reelected. The only thing he's got in his favor is the first crash is likely to be 40%, but then there's almost always a several month rebound that could go into the election. And maybe he skirts by if the Democrats don't have a strong candidate. They got 20 and not that many look that strong after the debates. So again, we're at a critical time, but note, even at I just showed in the 5-day forecast for our boom and bust subscribers that although we're testing new highs and we could just pull back a little bit and punch right through them, and Bitcoin just punched through its last resistance area, has no resistance up to its old highs near 20,000. So it's correcting now, as I also warned, and it could just keep going straight up. This all portends that this dark window is happening and is still the most likely scenario by far. Even a 25% correction or so in the NASDAQ and maybe a little less in the S&P and Dow still does not break the line in the sand for the most important market, the 5,700 level on the NASDAQ, which is its long-term trend. So we could still go to that low and still have a very strong thrust. It would just tend to come a little later and stronger if that happens. So dark window still looking likely. Iran is looking increasingly like could be a trigger down the road, and foreign debt. And again, you got to remember, when China starts blowing and their wealth evaporates, and their real estate starts to collapse, and people in Japan and China who own a lot of them now 2 or 3 houses because they're speculating and they're empty, when they start to realize these empty homes are a liability, not an asset, and start selling them, there's nothing the Federal Reserve and ECB can print money to stop that, and that implosion will be felt around the world. So I think we're getting close to the time where more stimulus just only does so much, and the tax cuts are already wearing off in their impact. As we said, there's no way we're going to create sustainable 3-4% growth with zero growth in workforce and 0.5% to 1% growth in productivity, and that's waning. So again, stay tuned. We're going to keep you updated. We still see the dark window playing out one way or the other unless we break that line in the sand on the NASDAQ. And I don't think that's likely. And I still think that a more shallow correction, again, that we're getting ready to bust out. And if Bitcoin keeps busting up, that's another sign. We've been seeing the Bitcoin is the final rally in this tech bubble, this second tech bubble. The internet jet fueled the first one from late 98 into early 2000. Well, cryptos are fueling this one. It's 2017 into, I say, late 2019, early 2000. So keep your seatbelts on. We'll keep you updated. It's going to be an exciting time, and there's still strong profits to be made on the upside. And of course, our trading services, almost all of them work both ways. We're going to make money on the upside and perhaps more on the downside. Because remember, markets fall twice as fast as they boom and bubble. And that's where you can make the most money if you're not in a classic buy and hold strategy and get slaughtered. So I'll keep you updated.